Well, if it's Tuesday, and it is, we're in the collector's attic again. And there's something fun I want to show you. A lot of people have heard about this. It's Disneyania, Disney collectibles. And a lot of people heard about this, and it's become legend in the Disney collectors market. But if you know how animations are made, there was a whole technique for doing that. It started with the animators drawing the cartoons in pencil, just in pencil on paper, and the paper had little registration holes punched into it. And then once they had the paper animating, and they'd photograph the paper, and that way they could look at the animation, make sure everything was moving the way they wanted it to. They have to redraw some of them. Once that was done, it was sent over to the art department, and a clear plastic cell for cellophane, was laid over the top with the same registration holes. And the first set of artists took black paint and they brushed in the lines, the outlines of the characters, which was all that was there on the pencil drawing.
Wow.
So once the pencil drawings, they went through cleanup, the cleanup artists, and then the black line was painted. And then if the black lines all looked exactly the way, they went over to the cell inkers, and the cell inkers, working from the back side, would paint just like doing a coloring book. They'd color in between the black lines.
Oh.
And the reason they'd work from the back side is that way if they couldn't follow the lines exactly perfectly, their little spillover would go under the black line, so you wouldn't see that. But they had to be really fast because you got to knock out 24 of these for every second of animation, and you're trying to make a 90-minute movie. And then on top of that, the Disney technique was a little bit different because they had so many characters. Most animations back then, they really tried to keep it down to 1 or 2 characters on the screen. One of the reasons they decided to do Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs for their first film was to just blow the minds of all the animators, because that meant in a lot of the scenes they were going to have 8 characters on screen at once, all moving.
My.
Well, every one of those characters is going to be handled by a different animator. So how do you bring that together? Well, one cell for each character. Since they're transparent, they're cellophane, then in the camera department, they just stack them up. They put a background down, which is a hand-painted watercolor, and then put the first character, the next character, the next character, and the registration pins all line that up. And when you get all 8 or 9 cells all stacked up over the background, you shoot it with the camera and then start with the next frame.
Oh my.
So a lot of these cells. Well, so Disney had just millions of cells in archive. And by the 1960s, it's like, what are we going to do with all of these cells? We don't really want to throw them away. They're the hand-painted frames from all of the famous cartoons. And someone said, well, they're called cell, let's sell them. And we can sell them in Disneyland.
Well, how
Seriously?
fun.
Yeah, so they mass-produced the backgrounds for the individual ones, so they'd pick a scene out of a movie that they want to do. They did the whole Sorcerer's Apprentice from Fantasia, and they just printed up a bunch of different backgrounds, and then they put Mickey's cells over that, framed the whole thing up, and stuck them in the gift shops.
Oh my goodness.
So each one is completely unique. Each one is an actual frame from an actual Disney animation.
Wow.
And people were buying them like hotcakes. Well, it just happened that we were visiting Disneyland, and I'm in the character shop that's there. Back then it was there in Fantasyland underneath the castle, and I'm just going,
There's one.
Mom, I want to buy like everything over here. There's about 1,000 of these and I want them all.
Yes,
And,
of
okay, well, okay, pick out one, but make sure that it's under $5, and and then you can have one. Whoa, I want one from Fantasia, and the ones from Fantasia were maybe more like $15 to $20. I mean, if it was a really nice image of Mickey doing the magic wand or something, it was more like $20. This is the one that I got.
Oh, and I love it.
Right here.
Isn't that cute? He's like he's trying to escape. Hello.
This is the cat from 101 Dalmatians. And this is the scene where all the various animals have gone looking for the puppies. Cruella de Vil has been kidnapping puppies all over town, all the Dalmatian puppies, including the 8 or so that the family has.
Yes.
And
Make a fur coat.
she's going to make a fur coat out of all of these puppies, and she's managed to kidnap 101 baby Dalmatians, and she's got them there in the DeVille Hall, and she's going to kill them all and make a coat out of them. And so the farm animals are all out searching. They don't know about all the other puppies. They're just looking for the 8 that they know are missing. And one of them ends up at DeVille Hall, the cat, and he answers to Sergeant Tibbs, which I think is another cat, and he's on direct orders. And he puts his paws up on the window, and he looks in there, and they're in front of the fireplace. We're playing all of these puppies, 101 puppies in this room, playing with each other and throwing stuff around. And that's this frame. So his paws, as you can kind of see, are up against the glass, and it's a very snowy night out there. And so he's been running through the snow, and that's the actual background from the scene. And then there probably would have been, I don't know, 100 different cells representing him climbing up and looking through the window.
Yeah.
But this one has really captured the look of amazement. This is the first time that they reveal to the audience that there's more than just these 8 puppies missing.
Yes.
That there's over 100 of them.
Yeah, 101.
And they're all in this room, and the cat sees it, and that's what you see.
See, that was my Nicole, my youngest daughter. That was her favorite movie when she was about 2-3 years old. She loved 101 Dalmatians.
101, and I love the movie too. And so that's the cell I ended up picking out in the character shop in Fantasyland.
Oh, that's just awesome.
Hundreds of these things. This one was, I think, $2.75.
Oh my.
And it's got a little seal on the back. I've framed it. It didn't come framed. It came matted and mounted, and then on the back there's a little gold seal saying this is an official animation cell from 101 Dalmatians, and purchased at Disneyland in 1968 or whenever this was happening, I forget.
Oh my.
And it still has the Disneyland price tag on it, but
That's cool.
it's kind of sealed inside there where you can't see it. Well, nobody had really been collecting animation cells until Disney did this dump of all of these cells. And in no time, people were paying their admission to get into Disneyland just so they could buy up as many cells as they could lay their hands on.
If I'd have seen one, I'd have been buying one.
And very quickly, I think Disney realized that they were way under the market, way under the market, and the price started skyrocketing. Those $20 cells of Sorcerer's Apprentice are going for thousands of dollars. This one is going for around $200 to $300.
Oh, easy.
And it became such a collectible market that they came out with something called a Cell. And you'll see these on eBay and whatnot, and don't get confused. Cell with actual animation cell. The actual animation cells were used in the movie, and they're hand painted, and there's no two alike because each one is the frame of a movie.
Right.
Cell means serography, which is a fancy way of saying silk screening.
Okay, right.
So what they do is they make up a silk screen, and then it takes a whole bunch of screens because each color is a different screen. And then they might do a really great image from Cinderella or the 101 Dalmatians or Fantasia, but one of the just classic images that you really want to collect, and then they knock out 1,000 of them, silk screen, and then they've got the little seal of approval, and it always comes with the certificate of authenticity. It sort of strikes me that stuff that comes with a certificate of authenticity is anything but authentic. It's like, oh, this is the Elvis Presley collectible plate with certificate of authenticity. Well, why would anybody reproduce it to bootleg it? Anyway, these don't have a certificate. They do have the little gold seal on the back. But they are completely unique. One of the things that you might be able to see here, I'll see if I can get an angle, but the paint is missing on his arm.
Oh no.
And the reason for that is the ink they used on the front side for the black line was an actual ink, and it stuck very well to the cellophane. the colorists, all that didn't have to stay on there very long, just long enough to get over to the camera department and get shot. And they were using what is essentially a tempera paint.
Oh, so it would come off really easy.
And it comes off very easily, and these things are incredibly fragile. And I've seen some really great cells where there's no color left at all. All that's left is the black line.
Oh,
And
gee.
there might be some little flecks of color kind of stuck here and there.
Wow.
Finding one where nothing has fallen out.
Yeah, it's like
And
magic.
actually, this is crazy, but in the 70s, I actually talked to two guys I knew working in the art department at Disney. And I said, would you guys be willing to take this back to the Disney studio and ink in the missing section of the arm? And they said, well, we could. We'd have to mix the paint. And why do you want us to do it? And I said, because it has to be the Disney art department, or it's. And they said, well, even if it is the Disney art department, you're going to destroy the value of your cell. Sorry that it's damaged, but pretty much they all are. But the ink that's on there is the ink that's in the movie. You want
Right.
to keep it intact.
as
You
is.
don't want to go touching it up or
Yes.
messing with it. But it's become a whole collecting thing
Right.
to collect animation cells. And Warner Brothers picked that up and started putting out the Bugs Bunnies. And then they started doing Sarah cells as well. And
You know, and I can remember in high school wanting to be an animator because I was in commercial art in high school, but we draw things in the corner of a notebook and then flip the pages to make it animate. But I had so many of my teachers, will you quit drawing in the corners of
Yeah.
your notebook, for heaven's
I
sake?
loved doing flip books.
Yes,
Yeah.
they were fun, but
Yeah.
it kind of gives you some idea of what it goes into animating
Oh,
something.
it's an amazing
crazy.
process, and since I ended up teaching animation, I'm somewhat familiar with the process. But
He gets animated once in a
I
while.
get kind of animated myself, trying to watch the news, and it's like I've become a Disney character.
Life of artists.
Life of artists. Well, anyway, if you haven't been over to the channel, do pop over to the channel. And if you're not a subscriber, do subscribe. And while you're over there, you might also want to binge watch.
Of course.
There's the 370 movies or something like
There'll
that.
be a
over
quiz at
there.
the end.
And there's a quiz at the end. And I expect everybody to turn in an animation by the end of the semester.
That's right. Be animated.
It doesn't have to be long, but it has to be good. 3 seconds is adequate, but it has to be good. At any rate, the easy way to become a subscriber and get over to the channel, or just get over to the channel if you're already a subscriber, is to click on the blue button. Are you ready for it? Zoink! The rocket ship right there. Well, we're not sure how you found this movie on the internet. We hope you didn't find it boring, and we will see you here on Sunday with the regular show. We'll see you then.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.